Hi everyone, welcome back to our Azure DevOps learning series on to the Azure board. On the last session, we have learned about the different Azure board or Azure DevOps REST APIs on how or the different APIs which you can be consumed in order to capture the work item from the Azure DevOps. Today, we will see the real world example how you can utilize the Azure Boards or Azure DevOps API to capture the work item, and on that specifically by executing the WIQL, a query to capture the work item information. If you can see on the screen, I have created a one Python script where a few of the libraries that has been imported, which can be used in the Python script for doing some date, for converting the JSON, or having the base64 encoded. And at the end, we are trying to be capture whatever be the WQL query give the result to be stored as a CSV file. If you can see here, specifically for the Azure DevOps, I have passed three parameters, right? One is the organization, which is your Azure DevOps organization. If you can see here, in this case, it's a Sanduja Neeraj. You have to be passed the project. Here, in this case, the project name is DevOps Learning Series, followed by a pet token to do the authentication. And the scope of the pet token I have limited only to the work item, read and write. However, if you want to utilize it for a different purpose, you can create the pet token accordingly. Now going down, what we are trying to be do as part of this Python script on utilizing the REST APIs. Now you can see here I've defined the REST API we discussed. Here the parameter for the REST API is WIQL, where we are trying to be pass the query to our REST API. Now what is our query? Now you can see I have put a query in a very simple way that I want to be select all the work item IDs which the name or the field name is coming as a system.id. We talked about this last time. From the work items where I want to be just capture the epic, that whatever be the epic which are not in the closed or any of these state, I want to be first capture all those work item ID as part of this REST API. That is our first part, but we are not ending up here on this particular demo. We will see how the output of this one WIQL with the REST API utilize for the another WIQL or the REST API to capture better or more information. Now you can see here on the Python, in order to capture or a call to the API, we have used the request.post where WIQL URL has been passed, which is our REST API, followed by the way of authentication that needs to be done, and then the header along with the query. This is the way to be called to the REST API with the WIQL as a parameter onto the JSON body. Now once that has been done, see, we have captured the work item ID as part of this output. Now for each and every work item ID, what we are trying to be capture is all of its information. For the epic that has been created, we are trying to be capture what? We are trying to be capture ID, we are trying to be capture title, type, priority, state, assigned to the different information from our ID. You can combine all together as part of the one WIQL. However, I just try to be make it in a way that we can first read all the epics which are not in a particular state and then capture the information which is needed and store it as a CSV file. Now you can see for each and every one, each and every ID, we are going to be called another API specifically for the work item. The previous one, if you can see here, is more specific to executing the WIQL, which help us to give all the work item IDs. Now, on the next REST API, we are going to be capture the detail of work items, means at a deep level of individual work item information with the different parameters and what all fields that we need as an output. Now you can see we have passed all these information which is needed based upon the based upon the field type. You can utilize the previous API that I've shared to capture what the field name is there in the Azure DevOps. Once that has been done, then execute it in a loop to store the output of this particular API as a CSV file, and then writing everything into the CSV file. That is how we are trying to be create a runtime based upon the WIQL to be capture all the information of the work item type as an epic, where the state is not enclosed or the way you want to be defined your WIQL. Once that has been done, we are going to be publish it. I will show you the pipeline part, but this is how on a real world example you can utilize the Azure DevOps REST API to be capture the Azure work item detail for any of your activity where you want to be create a report, you want to do some migration, you want to be do some modification or doing a calculation on the output of the result. This is the way you can capture it out. Now you can see here one more part here that I have passed these all information as a configuration. I have first loaded the configuration, and those configuration has been defined in the config loader, where I'm passing the one of my config.ini, and in the config.ini I have just given this information: my organization, my project, and the pet token with the permission. So it is reading it is helping us to be make a configuration, and that configuration is directly be used on the another Python script with this particular import. Okay, this is the way to be make your script as a generic, utilize it as and when needed, did not dependent on any of the organization or the project. Just change a configuration, script can be working as it is, nothing to be changed except your WIQL, the API that you want to be utilized. Now let's see, I have created this Python script and I'm using the Azure DevOps itself to be executed. Now let's go to the pipeline. See, I've created one pipeline where I'm trying to be execute one command line, where first installing the Python, installing the required library, and then executing our script. Once the script executed, just to show, I have tried to be publish the artifact that how the CSV file that has been generated looks like. Okay, now let's see, let me go back. I've just triggered it, but let's trigger it one more time, our pipeline. I'm not going to create a new one. We have to be trigger the existing pipeline which I've created for this session. Now let's go and trigger the pipeline with all the information that we needed and execute it. Let's see how this particular pipeline will utilize the Microsoft hosted agent. First install the Python and the required library of the request, followed by our actual script where the REST API that has been written, and based upon the REST API it is going to be capture all the work item information which is been there on a particular organization and a project and save it as a CSV file. So let's wait for this to be completed, and then we will quickly see how the published part will look like. You can see our script has been completed, and at the end you can see it has been saved the file with this particular name, epic detail, followed by I've put it up as a parameter in a way like it can capture the date. So this has been done. Now let's see whether it published anything or not. You can see there is one publishment. Right now for the demo I published everything, but you can be specific on what you want to be published. You can see this new file that has been created. I will show you how this file look like just in case it is being needed. See, this is how the file look like. All the information or all the header that we want to be captured, followed by the information that we have requested as part of our WIQL, and capture all the information which is needed. This is how you can utilize the Azure DevOps REST API for a better use for any of the activity that you want to be do, considering the change analytics, or if you want to be planned to doing any migration where you have to be capture a large number of work item. That is where the REST API can be utilized to capture the information from the Azure DevOps. Thank you so much. On the upcoming session we will go a little bit more deeper to understand how other activities or how the other task we can do using the Azure DevOps REST API. Thank you.